Hi everyone, Professor Gustin here, and I'm going to go over the syllabus. So here you click on this link and get the Word document. It says print it and put it in your 3-ring binder. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll come to a page like this. Every time you click on a document, you'll get to a page like this in bright space, and you'll notice that down here it says print. Generally, what I would recommend is that you download it before you print, because sometimes when you print directly from this screen, the formatting is messed up. So here also is another download. So I recommend clicking the download, and that will download it on your computer. I'm going to go up here in this corner outside of the what's being recorded, and I have a little link where a little down arrow where my downloads go, and I'm going to click on that. And that brings me to Microsoft Word, and there's the document. So if you want to print the document, I would print from here. I would print from Microsoft Word. So as you can see that my name's Brenda Gustin, and I like going by Professor Gustin. And please, especially when you email me, say, use my name. Say, hi, Professor Gustin. Don't just like blob, an email at me and treat me like I'm a computer, because one of the real challenges in an online course is to feel connected to the course and feel connected to the people in the course. So most of the time, email is my only opportunity to really have any chats with you. So kind of act like you're talking to a real person, because you are. I'm looking for those emails. There's my office in Schuyler Hall on Corning Community College main campus, and my phone number. If you need to talk to me, the easiest way to talk to me is by email. There's my email address. So you can email me. So feel free to email me anytime. For an online class like yours, I check my email a lot. And it's important to me to get back to you relatively quickly. Although if I get something on the weekend and it doesn't seem like it's urgent, I don't always check on the weekends, especially Sundays. But if it doesn't seem urgent, I might wait till the beginning of the week. Live office hours. I have live office hours for both my live and online students. So you can see there Monday 11 to 12, 1 to 2, Tuesday, Wednesday. And at that time, I will be in my Schuyler Hall office. So feel free to just pop by. I have 2 online and 1 live class this semester, and that means I'm in my office a lot, or I have a lot of flexible time. So if you want to come by sometime that's not in these office hours, just email me and we can decide on a common time. I'll make sure that I'm going to be in my office. You can also set up virtual office hours. So email me and say, can we talk by computer? And I'll send you a link. We'll decide on a date and I'll send you a link. So we can do that too. There's the course description and the learning outcomes that are relevant to this class. Technical computer information. You need a computer for this course, and you need a camera with video. And that's what I'm using right now to do this recording. I'm using a desktop computer, so I purchased a little computer that's a little camera that's looking at me right now, and I don't know, maybe about $30 or so at Best Buy or any place you would buy electronics. So make sure you have a computer with a camera and a video, a camera and an audio. And if you don't have that, and you're not, you're trying to avoid spending any extra money, the CCC library has a limited number of laptops available to loan for the entire semester. And they're free. The trick is you have to get there early in the semester to borrow it, because they go fast. So you can go to the library front desk and see if you can get one of those. If you do borrow a laptop from the college, be aware that you won't be able to download things on it and save it there. So it won't allow you to do that. And the one piece of software that you need to work with this semester is called Respondus. It's a proctoring software that I'll tell you about in a minute. And if you borrow a laptop from CCC, ask them to put Respondus on it. You will not be able to do that yourself. Okay. they're going to have to do it. So ask them to do that. They'll know what you're talking about. So you need a computer. You need, our textbook information, all the materials are electronic. They come through McGraw-Hill Connect, and I don't have McGraw-Hill written here, but it's McGraw-Hill Connect, and you'll access that through your Brightspace page. And you'll see when the first activity that you click on related to McGraw-Hill Connect in Brightspace, it'll ask you to register for McGraw-Hill Connect. So make sure you do that. I mean, you have to do that, or else you can't take the course. And within McGraw-Hill Connect, there is an ebook. And so we call this ebook a smart book, because what I've done is I put in topics that I think you should know for that unit, and they get highlighted. So the book, is automatically highlighted. We call that a smart book that you can read. We're going to be using these same materials for lecture and lab. So you might notice that I said the lecture materials, let's see, I'll use it for both lecture and lab. So you'll notice that I said there's no lab materials to purchase, but that's because you've already purchased them through the lecture link, through the McGraw-Hill Connect. All right, just like I mentioned up here, the exams and the lecture exams and the lab practical, the lab exams, are proctored using Respondus. Respondus is software you'll be asked to put on your computer, and I'll show you how to do that when it comes time. And what that does is it records you while you're taking it. And then I get alerts if anything seems like it wasn't typical for a student who's not cheating. So I get alerts to say, they were talking a lot during the test. Go check this out, and I can go back and look at the alerts and the video. So it's not watching you as you take the test. There's not a person sitting there, but it is recording you, and I can go back in that recording. Here it says Chromebooks do not work for Respondus. And this is as of last semester. So I know this has been an ongoing issue. I haven't checked yet back with Respondus if this has been changed. But if you have a Chromebook, I would plan on having another option for when you're taking your exams. And one of your options is a laptop from the library. Another option is in the CCC Learning Commons. There are 2 computers that have Respondus software installed. So if you're thinking of doing that, again, as we get closer to the exam, I will let you know where those computers are or how to find out. The other thing to be aware of, if you're going to use a computer in the Learning Commons to take your exams, check the Learning Commons hours. Last semester, they were closed on the weekends, and they're closed later in the day, in the evenings, so you have to plan ahead. If you're a STEM Academy student, first of all, if you don't know if you're a STEM Academy student, you're not. You would know if you were. But STEM Academy students get school-issued laptops, and you need to ask to have Respondus loaded onto them. I have had STEM Academy students get all the way to the test and then say, oh, it's taking too long. They didn't put Respondus on it yet. That's not a good excuse. You need to go right away this week to your school administrator and say, how do I get Respondus added to my computer, and make that happen in the next week or so. Here's a section on technical help. This is an online class. You've all been working with computers. You know that they do unpredictable things. In fact, just yesterday, I made this whole video and went to upload it, and then it didn't work, and all this. I spent 2 hours, and now here I am recording it again. So there are technical problems. They are to be expected, and it's just part of working remotely. One of the things I try to encourage is do not wait till the last minute to do all your material, to take all your do all your online interactions in this course, because if you're having technical problems, that's not a good reason for me to say, oh, you can hand it in late. That's not an option. You could, if you're having technical problems, you want to give yourself enough time that you could go use another computer, or you could get your problem solved or whatever it is. So do not wait to the last minute. In fact, in this course, in a live course, you literally have 6 hours of live class. On top of that, you have study time and time, you're taking quizzes and doing homework and whatnot. So if you are waiting till, a few hours before the deadline, you're not going to adequately finish the material anyway, or you're not going to pay enough attention to it for it to sink in. So if you are having technical problems, one of the things I appreciate that you do, if it's not resolved quickly, is to contact me by email and just say, I'm having this problem. This is the nature of the problem. If you tell me that, every once in a while, I find out, oh, you're not the only student having that problem. So I can look into it. I don't generally solve the problems unless it's something that I created. So let me know if it's something that you think I did, or if it's something, weird glitch that you want me to know, just in case other students are having that problem. So sometimes that helps. But we also have the Corning Community College IT department. You can contact them if it's a different technology questions. And here's some information about how to contact them. You can also email them, and there's their phone number. If you think it's a McGraw-Hill problem, like I would contact IT if you think it's a Brightspace problem or something related to your computer. If you think it's a McGraw-Hill Connect problem, you can contact McGraw-Hill. So, and here's their link there. And you can just search them, McGraw-Hill Connect Student Support, and you can get a link to their webpage. Assignment due dates and missed assignments. Okay, so every week there is a module, and the module in Brightspace. And I think this first week there's a couple of them because I have Syllabus, I have Welcome, Syllabus, and the week one. But every other week there's just the weekly materials. And so you're going to go to that, and those modules, the materials will all be posted by the Friday before the Monday of the start of the week. So week 2, all the materials will be posted Friday of week 1. So if you want to get started early. The class schedule has all the start and end dates. All assignments except the final exam are due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays. So that 1 minute before midnight. And you'll see this on the class schedule. I'll show it to you. All assignments except the final exam are due 1 minute before midnight on Tuesdays of the following week. The final exam is due on Thursday of week 16 at 12 noon, and I will remind you of that many times. Be respectful of due dates. Late assignments will receive no credit. In fact, there's a lot of assignments in this class that you get 100% just by completing it by the due date. On rare occasion, due dates can be extended by contacting me at least 24 hours before the due date and requesting an extension. So, and when you request that extension by email, I want you to say, I'm having this problem. I'm not going to be able to get such and such an assignment done by the due date. Can I have, and then propose, can I have until noon tomorrow to get it done? And I will say yes or no, and we'll talk about it by email. But this should be an exception. If you're having chronic problems with due dates, you need to change something that you're doing. If this was a live class, you'd just be missing class. So make sure that you pay attention to your due dates. I have final exam due date is on the class schedule. Final exam grades will be dropped by 10% if they are late. Because it just seems every semester, no matter how many times I tell people, somebody's always like, oh, I thought it was due at midnight. It's not. It's due at noon. And that's only the final exam. Let's see. Missed exam quizzes. If you don't do something, you just get a 0 for it. And here's just some pointers. Get a 3-ring binder. I would print the syllabus. I would print each lecture study guide, and I'm going to tell you what those are. I would print each lab handout, and I would put your notes on those documents, put them in a 3-ring binder, and that's what you're going to use to study. Okay? Sometimes people say, I want to type it all and put it on my computer and read it on my computer, but we all know how distracting the computer can be. So if you have hard copies, you can study them anytime. And also a lot of people benefit from writing out notes and all that. So one of the things you'll see on each module, weekly module, are a lecture study guide. And a lecture study guide will have the learning outcomes and the vocabulary I want you to know for that topic. And so I recommend printing these out, and a lot of people would want to write their content on there, their notes. And so you can create spaces where you can write notes. Then you'll look at, within that module, you're going to see videos. And there's lecture videos that will cover this study guide. So you can just go through, watch the video. You'll see it goes right along with the study guide and take your notes. And you can supplement that by readings from the textbook. So between the videos and the textbook, you'll be able to complete those lecture study guides. And it gives you some pointers on how to find your textbook materials. Finally, once you're done with the study guide and you review the material and you think you understand it well, you'll go to McGraw-Hill Connect, and there'll be a link in your Brightspace page. And you're going to do what we call a lecture assignment. And the lecture assignments, I abbreviate them as LA. What they are is just a lot of multiple choice questions on the material you just finished. And it's a great way for you to say, did I understand it? How well is it sinking in? And but with a pretty low risk situation, because what it does is it will give you a multiple choice question. And you're going to click the Start Questions. You get a multiple choice question. And if you go, I'm not sure the answer to that, you can click the Start Reading link, and it will bring you right to the textbook where the answer is. That answer will also be in your lecture study guide because you wrote those notes. But the idea is you can, when you answer a question, you'll get another question. And so you can go back and forth between answering questions and reading the textbook, or answering questions, looking at your study guide. But ideally, you would want to do some studying before this to see how much you can actually answer with just from your memory. The lecture assignments are what they call adaptive learning, which means every question, if you get a question wrong, you're going to get more questions on that topic. If you get a question right, it'll say, oh, they understand that topic pretty well. We'll go on to another topic. So the more correct answers you get, the faster you'll get through the lecture assignment. And the lecture assignment can take an hour or so. And you, like I said, you can go back between your book and your lecture assignment and learn the material kind of as you're doing it. If something happens in the middle of the lecture assignment and you need to take a break, you can stop it. You can shut down your computer and come back the next day, and you'll still be in the middle of that lecture assignment. So you don't have to start over if you only got half the questions done. So what's going to happen is, as long as you have all the questions done by the due date, you'll get 100% on that assignment. If you stop in the middle of it, you don't answer it all, you'll get 50% if you answered 50% of the questions. Okay, so this is really convenient because you can do some of them. You can do some of them at first, take a break, go do more of them later on. Once you've completed your lecture assignment, your grade will go into the Brightspace page automatically. Now, let's say you want to go back to that lecture assignment and study it for your exam. So you want to do it again at another time. You'll notice the lecture assignment will have recharge written next to it. And that will be in McGraw-Hill Connect. It'll say recharge. And what you'll notice is, it's the same lecture assignment, but you can take it all over again without affecting your original grade. So if it says recharge, that means you can do that lecture assignment again as many times as you want for practice. So you're going to print out this lecture study guide for lecture. Then you're going to print out a lab handout. There'll be a link in Brightspace. And you're going to print out your lab handout and put that in your 3-ring binder. And as you go through the lab, you'll see some sections that have, it'll just say, watch this video and answer these questions. And you'll write that in your lab handout. Other parts of the lab handout will have virtual labs. And it will say, go to the link in Brightspace and go to McGraw-Hill Connect and do this virtual lab. And so the virtual labs usually take about 10 minutes, and usually there's a few of them in a single lab. And so these are kind of in place of the live activities that we do in class. We would have done in a live class. So you're going to complete this entire lab handout, including the virtual labs. You'll get credit for the virtual labs by completing them by the due date. So even if you get something wrong, you'll get 100% from the virtual lab if you complete it. Then you'll notice that most weeks also have a lab quiz posted in Brightspace. So you've been filling out this lab handout. So the lab quiz just has a bunch of questions directly from the lab handout. And so the lab quiz is my way of checking if you did the lab handout. Okay, so I do not collect the lab handout. You're just going to do the virtual labs and take the lab quiz. And you're welcome to use your lab handout to answer the lab quizzes. Okay, and so together, the points from the virtual lab and the points from the lab quiz will add up to your weekly lab grade. The student withdrawal policy is consistent for all courses at the college. It's not unique to this class, but because we're a full semester class, what we do is at the end of week 9, you will be assigned a grade of a W. If you drop a course, if you drop this course before the end of week 9, you'll get a grade of a W, which is a withdrawal. If you're in this course after week 9, you will be assigned the grade that you earn. Okay, so if you decide at week 2, this isn't the class for me, I'm not going to do it, you stop taking it. But you don't drop yourself. You will remain in the class. I cannot drop you from this class. Only people I can drop from the class are people who have never done anything in the class. But if you've done even one assignment or emailed me one time, you're in the class. So if you decide to drop out early and stop doing it, I'm going to keep putting zeros on the grade sheet. If you want to get a W instead of an F, you need to go wherever you registered for classes the same way, and you can drop classes that way. So you can drop a class with a W before week 9 and earn a W instead of your earned grade. All your grades will be in Brightspace. If there's a grade that's missing or it's posted incorrectly, let me know soon. I will not, at the end of the semester, week 15, if you tell me, oh gosh, you forgot to put in that grade from week 3, I'm going to say, too bad. You needed to tell me that a long time ago. So it's really hard sometimes for me to go back and recreate what happened earlier. So if there's a problem in your Brightspace grades, let me know as soon as possible. How to see what you got wrong on tests and quizzes. That should be over here, but it tells you right here. So after you take a test, the due date comes, and I'll grade anything that's handwritten. So after the due date, I'll grade anything that's handwritten, like, not multiple choice, but short answer questions and whatnot. And then at that after that due date, you can go back and see, oh, what did I get wrong? I got a 80 instead of 100. What did I get wrong? And here's how it tells you how to go find the tests that I have graded, so you can look at those. Your course grades, they're calculated based on the points right here. And here's the grading scale that I use. And nursing students need a C to pass this course, okay? So, to count this course for nursing. Here's a basic needs statement. Corning Community College cares about our students. There are some students have basic needs issues. You might have a shortage of food. You might have food insecurity, housing insecurity. You might need mental health support. You might need some advice about childcare. You might need $20 to buy gas just this week. These would be all things that we would call basic needs. We do have an office that can help students or tries to help students in those situations. So if you're in a situation that's making it difficult for you to be successful in college, it can't hurt to go contact the office that handles basic needs. They are there to help students out. There's also different kinds of referrals listed down here if you're in crisis. So Finally, here's the class schedule. And you can see that LA means lecture assignment. Those are those adaptive learning things from McGraw-Hill Connect. Some of those I do in lab, so I call them lab assignments. It's, again, adaptive learning thing from McGraw-Hill Connect. And VL is virtual lab. So here's week 1, where we are now. The start date, I put the Monday start date, although you can get into this the Friday ahead of time. There's the topic. There's the lecture topic. There's the lab topic. And then here's all the assessments you're going to do. And these are all listed in Brightspace. You don't have to remember which is which. But some people like to check them off on their syllabus. And here's all the points they're worth. So here I have my lecture assignment and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of lab. If I go back here, lab week 1 is worth 10 points. There they are. Here's the connect all the lecture assignments. And the points from there are a fraction of this 80 points that you end up doing all semester. Notice the due date, Tuesday, September 2 at 11:59 p.m. Okay, everything is due at Tuesdays, 11:59 p.m. except final exam due at 12 noon on Thursday, December 11th. Okay, that's the syllabus. It's a big deal. It has a lot of information in there. When you have questions about the class, this is the first place to go. Okay, and if it doesn't answer it here, let me know. I'd be glad to help you out. Okay, so from here, you are going to go to the week 1 content, and it's the introduction to microbiology. You're going to finish that by Tuesday, September 2, and not at the last minute. Good luck this week.